Salespeople want to know how to make better presentations. And part of sales is being an expert at presenting. So practicing is always useful. But it's really important to remember that selling is not about presenting. It's about listening. And if we're listening to our customer, that's when we're going to have the best opportunity to make a sale. However, sometimes we get in a situation as salespeople where someone asks us to come and present our product or service and basically just come and do a dog and pony show. Well, as much as I hate to be in that position, I also don't want to lose the opportunity. So sometimes I'll say yes, and I'm sure you do too. What I'd like to do is make it easier for you to present when you get in one of those situations. So the first thing to do is gather as much information as you can. Even though they've said they don't want to talk to you, they just want you to come and present. They've probably got a lot of people with products and services lined up to present to a group at the same time. But you can still do some research on your own. You can learn as much as possible about their company, and you may be able to get them to give you a little bit of information. The most important thing you do want to get from them is a list of attendees. Make sure they tell you who's coming, what their titles are, and if you get them talking, you might be able to find out what roles each of these people play as well. And that will help you prepare your presentation, knowing whether the people you're talking to are the ultimate decision makers, whether they're going to be using the product, or if they are people who are just technical and determining some things that will screen you in or out. So, think about who your audience is and prepare your questions. What questions will you ask during the presentation? And now you're thinking, Alice, you just said you're going to present. You're not going to be asking questions, but in your presentation, you can wrap the questions in a way that fits the presentation, and that way you get some information versus just telling all about your product and service. So think about the questions that you want to ask, and then think about what it is you do want to present to them. What amount of information do they need at this stage in the sales cycle? And then the questions can be wrapped into that as appropriate. If you're going to use some kind of handout, have that prepared in advance. Make sure that it's something that they can either look at briefly before you start, or maybe you want to wait and hand it out when you're finished because you don't want it to distract their attention while you're presenting. If you use PowerPoint, make sure the PowerPoint is brief and make sure you do the talking, not the slides. So at the end of the presentation, make sure that you summarize the thoughts and the answers to any of the questions that you got during the presentation, and be sure and discuss the next steps and the timeline. What things are going to happen after this presentation, and what's their decision-making process, and how long will it take? How will they get back to you to let you know? And be sure and follow up with all of the participants. Send them an email or a note thanking them for their time or delivering any information that you need. So if at all possible, stay out of a situation where you just have to show up and present to people that you've never met before and don't know much about. But if it happens, use these steps to prepare and you'll have a successful presentation.